James Walker, an interstellar merchant, arrived on Zanera feeling the toll of his long space voyage. After securing his cargo at the local depot, his first stop was the Celestial Springs Spa, renowned across this sector for its exceptional services, particularly those provided by non-human therapists. The planet was a hub for weary spacefarers seeking rest and rejuvenation. As he entered the tranquil lobby of the spa, the soothing sounds of alien flora being rhythmically watered calmed his senses. He approached the reception, where a xeno-receptionist greeted him with a warm, fluid smile. "Welcome to Celestial Springs, sir. How may we assist your rejuvenation today?" the receptionist inquired, her voice a melodious chime. "I heard about your specialized masseuses. I'm looking for something different. Got anything like that?" James asked, his curiosity piqued by the exotic offerings listed on the hologram behind the desk. "Absolutely, sir. Our most unique service currently is from Lyra, our Alarian masseuse. She is highly recommended, especially now during her species' hot period, which heightens her sensory abilities," the receptionist explained, her eyes sparkling with an insider's knowing. "Sounds perfect. I'll go with Lyra then," James decided. Intrigued, the receptionist booked his session and directed him to the preparation room where he changed into a comfortable robe. Moments later, he was led to a dimly lit room filled with the scent of sweet, spicy incense. A tall figure stood by the window, her back turned to him, silhouetted against the soft light of Zanera's twin suns. "You must be James." "I'm Lyra," she said, turning around. Her appearance was strikingly unique, with smooth, silver-blue skin and eyes that seemed to reflect the stars themselves. "Nice to meet you, Lyra. I've never had an Alarian masseuse before," James replied, extending his hand. Lyra smiled, her hand cool and soft in his. "I hope to make your first experience memorable. Please, lie down on the massage table face down and we can begin." As James complied, Lyra started the session by explaining her methods. "During the hot period, our emotional and physical senses are enhanced. It allows me to tune into your needs more deeply." James nodded, his face nestled comfortably in the massage table. "Just what I need after a stint through the asteroid belts." Lyra's hands began to work on his back, her touch firm yet soothing. "You carry a lot of tension in your shoulders," she observed, kneading the tight muscles. "Yeah, the controls on the freighter are unforgiving. How do you cope with your hot period?" James asked, genuinely curious about her alien nature. "It's challenging but also enlightening. I feel everything more intensely, which can be overwhelming but also deeply connecting," Lyra shared, her hands moving with a rhythm that seemed synced with James's slower breaths. "Must be tough handling clients when you're feeling everything so intensely," James remarked. "It can be, but it also allows for a level of empathy and connection I can't achieve otherwise. Like now, I can sense your weariness not just in your muscles but in your energy," Lyra explained, her tone both professional and slightly personal. James appreciated her openness. "I guess that makes you excellent at your job during this period." "Yes, it does. And how about you, James? What brings you so far from home?" Lyra inquired, shifting the conversation as she shifted her focus to alleviating the stiffness in his legs. "Trading necessities and luxuries between the stars. It's a lonely job sometimes, traveling from one sector to another," he confessed. "Our session today doesn't have to be lonely. Let's make it a shared experience, not just a service," Lyra suggested, her words echoing the sentiment of genuine connection. "Sounds good to me, Lyra. It's a deal," James agreed, settling more deeply into the table, ready to embrace the unique healing experience only an Alarian during the hot period could provide. As her skilled hands continued their work, he felt the stress begin to melt away, replaced by a curious blend of relief and anticipation for the unknown sensations yet to come. After the initial session, James felt revitalized, a feeling he hadn't realized was possible after the grueling demands of space travel. Intrigued by Lyra's unique approach and the effects of her hot period, he decided to book another session. Before the next appointment, he spent some time at a local cafe where he met another spacefarer, Tomas, who shared similar interests. "You're going back for another session? That Alarian masseuse must be something special," Tomas chuckled, sipping his steaming cup of Galarian tea. "She is," James replied, There's something about the way she connects during her hot period. Makes you feel understood beyond just physical relief. Interesting. I might have to try that myself. Been dealing with back issues for cycles now, Tomas mused, intrigued by the concept. Why don't you join me? They have a session where friends can go together, experience it side by side. Might give you a new perspective on therapy, James suggested. You know what? Let's do it. Could use a new experience after the last haul? Tomas agreed, finishing his drink. The next day, both men arrived at Celestial Springs Spa, greeted by the same warm, fluid smile of the Xeno receptionist. Ah, back again, Mr. Walker. And you've brought company. Shall I book you both with Lyra? Yes, please, James confirmed, glancing at Tomas, who nodded enthusiastically. As they prepared for their session, Lyra welcomed them with her serene, composed demeanor. Good to see you again, James. And you must be Tomas. I'm looking forward to working with both of you today. Tomas, a bit awkward at first, shook her hand. Heard a lot about you. Excited to see what this is all about. Please, make yourselves comfortable on the tables. Today, we'll focus on deep relaxation and emotional grounding, which are especially effective during my hot period, Lyra explained as they lay down. Does it affect your personal life? This hot period? Tomas asked, genuinely curious as Lyra started her session by synchronizing her touch to the soft, ambient music in the background. It does. My senses are heightened to a point where I feel every subtle change in emotion and environment. It can be overwhelming, but also deeply enriching, Lyra responded, moving her hands expertly over Tomas' back. That's got to complicate relationships, I imagine, James chimed in, turning his head slightly to engage more directly. Indeed, it does. Relationships with others like me, and with those who aren't. It's a time of intense personal growth and challenge, Lyra shared openly, her hands not missing a beat. How do people around you cope with that? Your friends, family? Tomas asked, his voice a mix of concern and fascination. They've learned to understand and give space when needed. It's about mutual respect and understanding, much like any relationship, she explained, smoothing out a stubborn knot in Tomas' shoulder. I guess that's true for any of us, out here or at home. We all need that kind of understanding, James reflected aloud, feeling a deeper connection to Lyra's words. Yes, and today, let's focus on building that understanding here, between you, Lyra suggested, guiding them through breathing exercises that aligned with her therapeutic touches. The session continued with a focus on shared human experiences, bridging the gap between the human and Alarian worlds through the universal language of touch and emotional presence. Both men found themselves discussing more personal matters, supported by Lyra's empathetic guidance. By the end of the session, Tomas turned to James, a look of profound relaxation and gratitude on his face. I get it now. This isn't just about physical relief. It's about connecting on a level we often forget exists. Exactly, James nodded, both men appreciating a newfound depth to their own interactions, brought forth by an Alarian's touch during her hot period. As they left the spa, feeling more relaxed and connected than ever, they agreed that this experience would definitely not be their last. Lyra had opened a door to something beyond the physical, a realm where understanding and empathy were as healing as the touch itself. Refreshed from their previous sessions, James and Tomas found themselves frequenting Celestial Springs more often, drawn not only to Lyra's therapeutic touch, but also to the deeper, emotional connections the sessions fostered. One particular evening, they decided to bring along another friend, Eric, who had just docked from a taxing supply run on the Outer Rim. As they entered the spa, the familiar soothing ambience welcomed them. The receptionist, recognizing them now as regulars, greeted them with a bright smile. Good evening, James, Tomas. And who is this with us today? This is Eric. He's in dire need of what you offer here. James introduced his friend, clapping him on the back. Welcome, Eric. I'm sure you'll find our services quite rejuvenating, the receptionist said, directing them to their usual preparation room. Once ready, they were greeted by Lyra, who seemed to glow with a serene light, indicative of her deep connection to her work. Welcome back, James, Tomas. And it's a pleasure to meet you, Eric. I've prepared something special for all of you tonight. Eric, a bit stiff and clearly carrying the weight of his journey, nodded appreciatively. Thanks. I've heard a lot about this place. Looking forward to seeing what all the fuss is about. As they lay on adjacent tables, Lyra began with her usual introductory touch, but this time, she incorporated a scent diffuser that filled the room with a calming aroma, enhancing the sensory experience. Lyra, you mentioned doing something special today. What do you have in mind? Tomas asked, his curiosity piqued as he relaxed under her skilled hands. Tonight, we will focus on a technique I call sensory synergy. It's about aligning your physical senses with your emotional state, which can be very grounding, especially after long periods of isolation in space, Lyra explained, her voice soothing. Eric, feeling the first touches of her method, started to relax visibly. That sounds intriguing. Isolation can get pretty heavy out there. Yes, and it's important to reintegrate your senses with your emotional self. Often, we suppress a lot during missions, don't we? Lyra moved gracefully between the three, ensuring each felt the connection not only to her but to each other. James, who had been looking more introspective, chimed in. It's true. Sometimes we don't even realize what we're holding back until someone helps us let it go. Lyra nodded, pressing gently on a pressure point. Exactly, James. It's about release and connection. You three share bonds of friendship, and through this session, I hope to deepen that by synchronizing your relaxation. The conversation dwindled as they each focused on the sensory experience, feeling more in tune with themselves and each other. As the session neared its end, Lyra guided them through a shared meditation, reinforcing the connectivity theme. Sitting up after the session ended, Eric was the first to speak, his tone reflective. I didn't realize how much I needed that. Not just the physical relief, but feeling connected again. It's easy to feel detached out there. Tomas nodded, sharing a look with James. It's sessions like these that remind me why we keep coming back. It's not just spa treatment. It's like therapy for the soul. Yeah, James agreed, stretching his arms above his head. Lyra, whatever you did today, it worked wonders. I feel lighter, more in sync with myself and these guys. Lyra smiled, her eyes sparkling with fulfillment. I'm glad to hear that. Remember, the connection doesn't end here. Take this feeling with you, back to your ships, your missions. Let it remind you of the bonds you have and the support around you. As they left the spa, the three friends felt not only rejuvenated but also more connected. They made plans to meet up more often, not just for spa nights, but also to maintain the emotional connections they had strengthened that evening. Next time, drinks are on me, Eric offered, his spirits lifted. You're on, Tomas and James responded in unison, their laughter echoing as they walked into the starlit night of Zanera. Several weeks after introducing Eric to the therapeutic wonders of Celestial Springs, the trio of friends, James, Tomas, and Eric, found themselves becoming regulars, not just at the spa but in each other's lives outside of their demanding jobs. This particular evening, they had agreed to meet at a local diner after their session with Lyra to discuss something that had been on James's mind, starting a small business venture together. As they slid into the booth, the clatter and buzz of the diner around them felt comforting, familiar. Eric waved over a server, and they ordered their usual post-spa indulgences. So, James, you said you've been thinking about something business-wise? Tomas inquired, leaning forward, his interest piqued. Yeah, James started, taking a sip of his drink. We've all seen how much good these sessions with Lyra have been doing for us, right? And we know how hard life can be out there for people like us. Always moving, always isolated. Eric nodded. Absolutely, it's a game changer. I've never felt better mentally. What if we started something that could give other spacefarers the same kind of support? Not just physical like a regular spa, but something deeper, more connected, James proposed. You mean like a chain of spas? Or something more mobile? Most of us are constantly on the move, Tomas asked, his brow furrowing as he thought about the logistics. Exactly, something mobile. A spa on a ship, traveling from one trade post to another. Offering services like what Lyra does, maybe even training with her methods if she's agreeable, James elaborated. Eric, always the practical one, weighed in. It sounds like a great idea, but we'd need to really plan this out. Licensing, staff, not to mention startup costs. Tomas, ever the optimist, chimed in, but think about the potential. Mental health is a huge issue for people in our line of work. We could really make a difference. The discussion became more animated as they delved into details. They talked about potential routes, types of therapies, and even what kind of ship they would need. The server brought their food, but it sat momentarily forgotten as they sketched out ideas on napkins. Let's say we get this off the ground. We need a solid crew. Not just therapists, but staff who understand the lifestyle, the ups and downs of space travel, Eric pointed out as he finally took a bite of his burger. And we need to think about how to market this. It's not just a spa, it's a wellness center on the go. We need a catchy name, something that resonates with spacefarers, Tomas added, his mind racing ahead. How about Stellar Wellness? It's straightforward, tells you what it is, and plays on the whole space theme, James suggested, looking between his friends for their reactions. I like it. Stellar Wellness. Your port of calm in the storm of space, Eric said, a grin spreading across his face as he warmed to the theme. They spent the next hour fine-tuning their concept. By the time they left the diner, they had a basic business plan and a list of research tasks divided among them. It feels good, you know? Planning something positive, not just running shipments back and forth, Tomas said as they stood outside, the stars bright above them. Yeah, it's like we're taking what we learned from Lyra, the connection and understanding, and spreading it wider, James reflected, feeling a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. Let's meet again next week, go over what we've each found out. This could really be something, Eric suggested, his usual reserve giving way to cautious excitement. They agreed, shaking hands before heading off to their respective ships, the night leaving them with a shared sense of anticipation for the future. After their energizing discussion at the diner, James, Tomas, and Eric dedicated the following week to gathering data for their venture, Stellar Wellness. Each had a unique set of tasks. James focused on potential ships and retrofitting costs, Tomas explored staffing and training protocols, and Eric dug into licensing and legal requirements. They planned to reconvene at Celestial Springs to discuss their findings and next steps. Looks like we all have something to bring to the table today, James remarked as they settled into a private room at the spa. They had just completed a group session with Lyra, which left them relaxed and more open to creative thinking. Eric, usually reserved, showed uncharacteristic enthusiasm. I checked into the legal stuff. Turns out there's a growing market for mobile wellness services in interstellar territories. We have a solid case for getting a grant from the Galactic Trade Authority. That's fantastic news, Tomas replied, flipping open his tablet to share his research. And on the staffing front, there are several training academies that specialize in space-adapted wellness programs. We could partner with them for certified therapists. James nodded, pleased. As for the ship, I found a couple of retired mid-size freighters that could be converted into a mobile spa. They're structurally sound and have plenty of space for a full-scale operation. The three friends leaned over the tablet, examining images and specs of the ships. The energy in the room was palpable. What had started as a simple idea was quickly morphing into a viable business. Let's talk numbers. We need a detailed budget for startup costs, ship purchase, retrofitting, staff training, and initial marketing, Eric suggested, his tone shifting to his usual pragmatism. James agreed, pulling up a spreadsheet. Here's a rough estimate. I think if we pool our resources and secure that grant Eric mentioned, we can actually make this happen without taking on too much debt. Tomas, ever the connector, added, and I've been talking to some folks I know in the industry. There's genuine excitement about this kind of service. Stress and mental health are big issues for spacemen and women. We're hitting right at the heart of a major unmet need. They spent the next hour detailing their business plan, assigning roles based on their strengths. James would handle operations, Tomas marketing and partnerships, and Eric finance and legal. As they wrapped up their meeting, Lyra entered the room to check on them, her presence always a calming influence. It sounds like you're all making wonderful progress. How does it feel to be working on something so close to your hearts? It feels right, James answered, smiling at his friends. Thanks to what we learned from you, we're not just thinking about our own stress anymore. We're planning to help others manage theirs. Lyra smiled back, her eyes softening. That's a beautiful way to spread wellness. If you need any advice on therapeutic techniques or training, I'd be honored to help. Actually, that's a great point. Would you be interested in consulting with us as we develop our therapy programs? Tomas asked, hopeful. I would love to. It's important that the essence of what we do here is translated accurately and effectively wherever you go, Lyra agreed, her offer cementing their resolve. They thanked Lyra for her support and left the spa more determined than ever. Their next steps were clear. Finalize the purchase of the ship, begin the retrofitting process, and start the partnership with the training academies. Stellar wellness is really happening, isn't it? Eric said as they stepped outside, a hint of awe in his voice. It really is, Tomas laughed, slapping him on the back. And it's going to change lives, ours included. As they went their separate ways, each felt a sense of accomplishment and anticipation for the future. What had begun as a simple idea during a conversation after a spa session was now on its way to becoming a pioneering service in space travel wellness. The plans for stellar wellness were progressing rapidly, with each of the trio, James, Tomas, and Eric, playing their roles to perfection. The excitement was palpable as they secured their retired freighter, now docked for retrofitting into a state-of-the-art mobile spa. As they stood in the vast cargo bay, the potential of their new venture seemed limitless. This will be the relaxation lounge, James said, pointing to the schematic on his tablet. And over there, individual therapy rooms along the sides. Eric, always focused on details, noted, we need to ensure the soundproofing is top-notch. Space can be noisy, and our clients will need silence to fully relax. Tomas, who had been networking with potential staff and partners, added, I've been talking with some cultural advisors, too. Since we'll be serving a diverse clientele, we need to be sensitive to various cultural preferences and practices. That's a great point, James agreed. We should consider that in our design and service offerings. Maybe even specialized training for our staff? Exactly, Tomas confirmed. I've set up a meeting with Lyra and a couple of cultural experts to discuss this further. We want stellar wellness to be a place where everyone feels welcome and understood. The following week, they gathered in their newly acquired conference room aboard the ship, joined by Lyra and two cultural experts, Dr. Hannah Reyes, an anthropologist, and Zell, a xenosociologist. Thank you all for coming, Tomas began. We're here to ensure that stellar wellness respects and accommodates the rich diversity of our future clients. Lyra nodded, her voice calm as always. It's crucial that the therapies we offer don't just relax, but also resonate on a personal level. Cultural sensitivity can be the difference between feeling seen or overlooked. Dr. Reyes chimed in, for example, certain colors and symbols that are calming for some cultures might be distressing for others. These details need to be adjustable depending on the client's background. Zell, whose knowledge of alien cultures was extensive, suggested, interactive sessions where clients can choose their room's themes could be very effective. It gives them control over their environment, which can be particularly comforting. Eric, taking notes, asked, what about language barriers? Should we invest in universal translators? That would be wise, Zell confirmed, not just for language but for understanding cultural nuances. Misunderstandings can be more stressful than the noise outside. James, thinking about operations, realized, we'll need to integrate these insights into our training programs. Perhaps Lyra could help develop a module on cultural sensitivity. Lyra was enthusiastic. I'd be honored. Understanding and empathy are at the heart of what I do. Extending that to cultural sensitivity is a natural step. As the meeting progressed, they outlined a plan to incorporate cultural training for all staff, with Dr. Reyes and Zell providing resources and ongoing consultancy. This is shaping up to be more than just a spa. It's almost like a cultural hub, Eric noted, impressed with the depth of their planning. It's about wellness in every sense, James said, satisfied with their progress. Physical, mental, and emotional, respected across cultural lines. Tomas looked around at the group, feeling a sense of pride. This is going to be revolutionary. Stellar wellness isn't just a name. It's going to be a new standard in space travel. With their cultural strategy session wrapped up, the team felt even more confident in their venture. They knew that by embracing diversity and sensitivity, stellar wellness would become not just a success, but a sanctuary for spacefarers of all backgrounds. As they left the meeting, each member of the team felt a renewed sense of purpose. Their project was not just a business. It was a mission to bring peace and understanding to the often harsh reality of space travel. As the retrofitting of their ship neared completion, James, Tomas, and Eric gathered in the newly finished relaxation lounge of Stellar Wellness for a final review. The lounge was now a serene space with adjustable lighting and modular seating that could be rearranged to suit various cultural preferences, a direct result of their previous discussions. "This looks amazing, guys," James said, his voice echoing slightly in the spacious room. "I can't believe we're almost ready to launch." Eric, inspecting a control panel, nodded in agreement. "We've covered nearly everything, from soundproofing to cultural adjustments. But we need to discuss the operational aspect, especially the routes and initial launch strategy." Tomas, who had been liaising with potential partners, added, "I've been thinking about that. We should consider starting with a few short routes, perhaps between busy trade hubs where stress levels are high. It could give us quick feedback and help us fine-tune our services." "That makes sense," Eric replied. "We could cover major hubs and maybe include stops at lesser-known outposts that are often overlooked. Those crews would really benefit from our services." As they discussed the operational logistics, Lyra entered the lounge, her presence always bringing a sense of calm. "Everything is coming together beautifully," she observed, looking around the lounge. "You've all done an incredible job." James smiled at her. "We couldn't have done it without your insights, Lyra. Speaking of which, we have a proposal for you." Lyra raised an eyebrow, curious. "Oh? What kind of proposal?" "We'd like you to come on board as our lead therapist," Tomas said. "Not just overseeing the therapies, but also training our staff and ensuring that the cultural sensitivities are continuously addressed." Lyra was taken aback, her silvery features brightening. "Really? I'm honored, but it's a big commitment. I need to consider what it means for my own work here on Zanera." "We understand it's a big move," Eric interjected. "But think of the impact you could have. Not just on individuals, but on interstellar wellness as a whole. And of course, we'd make sure your terms are accommodating." "Whatever you need to make the decision easier," James added, hoping to sway her decision. Lyra took a moment, looking around at the faces of the three men who had become not just clients but friends. "I'll need to discuss it with my family and community. It's not just my decision. It's a life change. Take all the time you need," Tomas reassured her. "We hope you'll decide to join us." Lyra nodded, her mind clearly processing the potential changes. "I'll give you my answer soon. For now, let's enjoy this milestone. Seeing this come to life is truly inspiring." The group spent the rest of the day discussing potential marketing strategies and community outreach programs, ensuring that when they did launch, they would make the strongest possible impact. As the meeting drew to a close, the sun set beyond the panoramic windows of the lounge, casting a warm glow over the group. They stood together, looking out at the stars, contemplating the journey ahead. Not just through space, but through the lives they would touch. "Whatever happens, we're making a difference," Eric said, a reflective tone in his voice. "That's what really matters." James clapped him on the shoulder. "Right you are, Eric. Let's keep pushing forward. Stellar wellness is going to change lives, one star at a time." With a shared sense of purpose, they left the lounge, their steps light and hopeful as they moved closer to launching a project that was more than a business. It was a new beginning. The launch day for Stellar Wellness had finally arrived. The once retired freighter, now transformed into a sleek, mobile spa, was docked at its inaugural port. James, Tomas, and Eric stood at the boarding ramp, welcoming their first clients with nervous excitement. "This is it, guys," James said, his voice tinged with anticipation as he adjusted a banner reading, "Welcome to Stellar Wellness. Your journey to rejuvenation begins here." Eric, usually the more reserved of the trio, couldn't help but smile at the steady stream of clients. "I can't believe we're actually doing this. It feels surreal." Tomas, always the social butterfly, greeted each new face with genuine warmth. "Welcome aboard. We're thrilled to have you with us. Please, make yourself at home." As the morning progressed, the spa began to buzz with activity. Clients from diverse backgrounds, humans and aliens alike, explored the facilities, marveling at the cultural accommodations and personalized therapy rooms. Lyra, who had decided to join the team as the lead therapist, was already busy conducting sessions and training the staff. During a quieter moment, the three founders gathered in the control room, watching the live feedback coming in on their monitors. "Look at this, the relaxation lounge is a hit," Eric pointed out, showing real-time images of clients lounging in peace. "The adjustable settings for light and gravity are particularly popular." James nodded, his eyes scanning the data. "And the feedback on the therapy sessions is overwhelmingly positive. Lyra's training is paying off. People are really feeling the benefits." Tomas couldn't contain his enthusiasm. "We're not just a spa, we're a wellness hub. This is going to revolutionize how people deal with the stresses of space travel." As they discussed the day's successes, Lyra joined them, a serene smile on her face. "How does it feel, seeing your vision come to life like this?" "It's more than we hoped for," James admitted. "But there's still a lot to do. We need to keep this momentum going." Lyra's smile widened. "I have every confidence in you, and I'm here to help in any way I can." The afternoon brought a minor challenge, a scheduling mix-up that caused a slight delay in appointments. But the team handled it with professionalism, quickly adjusting the timetable and communicating transparently with the affected clients. Eric, overseeing the resolution, was impressed by the team's efficiency. "Great job, everyone. That could have been a lot worse, but you handled it beautifully." As the day wound down, the three founders met on the observation deck, overlooking the stars. The success of their launch was clear, but more than that, the impact they were having on their clients' lives was profound. "We did something important today," Tomas said, looking out into the vastness of space. "Not just for our clients, but for ourselves." Eric nodded in agreement. "We set out to make a difference, and we're doing just that. Let's keep going. See how far we can take this." James placed his hands on the railing, a satisfied grin on his face. Stellar wellness is more than a business. It's a promise to bring peace and well-being to the stars. As night fell and the stars shone brightly, the lights of stellar wellness flickered warmly, a beacon of calm in the chaotic expanse of space. The journey had just begun, but for James, Tomas, and Eric, it was already a resounding success, filled with the promise of many peaceful voyages to come.